All right, all right. Hello, everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu. You're just tuning into the 104th episode of TOY Talks podcast. You can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, Patreon as well too. Check out Patreon. I just dropped a couple episodes lately with another artist a while back too. We've had a food reaction, everything else too. Once you sign up for the tiers and all that, there's different ways you can get certain content from the exclusivity of the amount of prices, everything else too. You'll definitely find it in the link here. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna get it started right here. So they've been performing all over Toronto and Montreal. They're a band, DJ, production group based out of Scarborough and all that. They've just released their beat tape project a while back too, called Beaties. They've also had other singles too, like Tanagare, as well as Okay. They've worked with the likes of Big Juice, Rye 783, performed at a lot of shows in Toronto too. I've seen them live many times. So we have Bitter and Broke in the building. How are you guys doing today?
Good, man. Thank you for having us. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, man. And I want to do a quick introduction for you guys too. Maybe if you want to state your names too, so people know the individual names and all that too. So
yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Yoshi. I play guitar and I sing in the band, and happy to be here, man.
Hey y'all, my name is Jay. Happy to be here. I'm a drummer, bass player, singer, and yeah.
I'm Aaron. I play a whole bunch of stuff like keys, horns, talkbox, MPC drums. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. I've seen you guys live way too many times too. I remember, I think the first show, I think it was the Snow and Mel event too. I think it was some dingy bar on College Street, and you guys are using Roger Troutman, Zap, and all that too. Did certain covers Snow Allegra, and it was one heck of a night too. And you've done other shows too with Dreamworld Productions, with the other Snow and Mel event too, and working with Big Juice, and even having that Beaties project where you've had Juice. I think you've had Casino Castra, Ray, HMND, I think too, and a lot of other people. I think this guy named Disco Dave or Disco something like that. Disco Dash. So
yeah.
That was actually pretty lit. It was dope to hear in a way, So
yeah,
man. And I want to get it started too. So growing up in Scarborough, what was the environment for you guys in terms of growing up? And would you say it was a great experience growing up?
I didn't grow up in Scarborough, so it's you guys first.
Yeah, it's been super chill. Born and raised there, right? Yeah, man, can't complain. Just blessed.
Yeah, actually, that's funny because Jay's the only one who was born and bred in Scarborough. I was born downtown, so I had a little bit of a different upbringing. Yeah, shout outs to Jamestown, that kind of stuff. And then ended up moving up to Markham and then ultimately to Scarborough, but kind of have a little bit of the uptown and downtown feel. Environment was always super chill. Music was kind of just everywhere we were at, the I don't want to say lower income, but it was low, low income families, you know what I'm saying? Just about to get into middle class type shit. And yeah, it was that release, and that's kind of the exposure in music.
How about you, man?
So I did not grow up in Scarborough. I was born in Tokyo. Spent some time in Vancouver as well. And I've been here for the past, I don't know how many years. It's been a while, man. 15 years maybe. And I had the opportunity to move to Scarborough for university, and I haven't really left.
Okay.
It's too nice.
Yeah.
My band is here.
And the areas that you guys grew up in, I know at the time too, I don't know if it was very big within music. I know Scarborough, Markham, Tokyo, they've all had different scenes, different sounds, different cultures too. So was it in that sense an industry area growing up, or just more so communities?
Yeah, just more so community. I think recently we've just been tapping into the more industry, maybe.
Okay.
But for the most part, man, yeah, it's just been community oriented. Just jamming with whoever's around you, type thing.
Yeah, and I feel the answer is kind of a reflection of what music meant to us at the time. Being growing up we weren't fixated on, oh, let's get into the music industry. It was more or less, I really enjoy this. Let's link up with more people who are kind of doing the same stuff. At least in like high school, it was about just, okay, you band geeks over there. Let's try to do some like cool stuff over here. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff.
Okay. And like initially, like within music, like was it like more so within school and then home growing up? Like I know, like most people become like a part of like the band, like in like middle school, high school. Others like they do like recorder and all that type of stuff too. So
Yeah.
Go ahead. Where you guys go?
Yeah, I think a lot of it came actually from just hanging out with friends, man. I don't think it was it helped me kind of practice and kind of get the experience of just singing more, playing guitar more, like in classes and things like that. But ultimately, I feel like the most fun is when you're jamming with friends.
okay,
And then when you have good enough friends with good enough jams with good enough friends,
okay,
this kind of happened.
Just clicks.
Because that's how Jay met us. Because initially it was just us two at the start.
Okay.
But we'll get to that.
We'll
We'll
get
get to
back
that.
to
Yeah.
yeah. Because I mean, even with music too, because like you guys are like '90s kids and all that, right? So like usually it's like a lot of like R&B, pop, hip hop here and there too. So it's like a amazing blend of like certain sounds and all that, So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
yeah. And as far as like individual like artists, like who did you guys like listen to growing up?
So much. I've recently retapped into my fandom for George Benson. To the point where I think it's a problem where it's affecting our band sound, but it's okay, More jazz is always good. But aside from George Benson, I don't know, Linkin Park really, really influenced me. And then, some people like Brian McKnight. Obviously, folks like Michael Jackson. This Japanese artist by the name of Hirai Ken Hirai. Beautiful voice. And yeah, maybe like Alexis on Fire, City in Color.
That's so random.
Yeah,
I
this
love
is a
it.
random list, man.
Just the most wide ass list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I listened to more music as a kid. Honestly, at home, my parents would play like a bunch of like gospel tunes, Christian tracks. So, Hillsong was definitely one of them. But like the Michael Jacksons, the Stevie Wonders, those guys have been my influences. Yeah.
Okay.
Growing up, it was different. Like I feel like a lot of us Filipinos, myself, Jay, like we grew up with like karaoke and there's like a repertoire of music that we're kind of exposed to at a younger age. Like I was listening to like Luther Vandross, Diana Ross, like when I was like 7. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of stuff. But then on the opposite side, I was lucky enough to have like a cool ass cousin to show me Enter the 36 Chambers by the Wu-Tang Clan in like 96, like 2 years after this shit dropped. And I was blown away because all I was listening to is like radio and like all the karaoke stuff. So I'm like, what is this? What is this music that like, who are these rebel people that are like the outcasts of society? And you know what I mean? Like that's what drew us into the culture.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Like that kind of stuff. But all on top of that, it's like super spread from anywhere from like Jay Dilla to like, I don't know, Chet Baker. I'm gonna just pull out some like random like jazz dude.
George Benson.
Okay.
Benson,
yeah.
D'Angelo,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
D'Angelo,
we're
facts.
huge music heads and like just music nerds at the end of the day.
You know what I could say like about like Filipino people too, like in terms of like music, like they show out like whenever it comes to like certain shows like within R&B, hip hop, pop. Like if you go to like a show in Toronto, I think I used to go to like a lot of like R&B concerts. It was like primarily Filipino people with like blacks and like everyone else too, and like they truly support the artists, like, and they have like a lot of artists like coming in that game too with Kalani, Janae Aiko, like in a sense too, Jeff Bernards and all that, and I think the first person that kind of blew up from that was like Charisse and all that, which is now I think a different person too. But yeah, I mean when Pyramid dropped and like a lot of other songs too, like Charisse was doing their thing and all that, and like they even like I think sold out the Eden Center one time.
Yo, they went crazy. That run was
You can
nuts.
perform at the Eden Center?
Yeah,
Oh,
like
yeah.
I
You
think
can do a ticketed event at the Eden Center?
Well, I don't think it would be a ticketed thing.
What?
It would probably be like a I don't know, an installation or something by labels and stuff.
I think
It's amazing.
their label, I think it was Warner Music, I think too, because Now it's Jake Zyrus actually, so I messed up that name for a bit. But yeah, I think they had their team like show up to Toronto to perform at the Eden Center, where they used to have that like back then too, and like it was like so packed out, like everyone was like in like the mall and all that too. Like I was like watching like a YouTube video, and like
That's crazy.
they showed out, they performed Pyramid and like all these other songs too, and it was crazy, you know.
It's sick.
Yeah,
It's sick. It was a different time, man. Like I
Yeah.
feel like just the way that they prioritized art as opposed to like the commerce of it, but you know that's something else.
yeah, exactly. Nah,
something
facts.
else.
And did you guys had any like family that were like into music back then, like performing or like were known like in music back then?
Yeah, so my mother was studying opera at one point, but she stopped doing that. But you know, even when I was born, she was always singing to me. You know, I was singing with her on certain songs. So yeah, she's definitely been an important part of where I'm at. Yeah, and then like music teachers,
Mm.
right? I know you said family, but I feel like all of us kind of have a music teacher story, maybe a couple, but definitely, you know, very impactful, life changing. Because I feel like we all wouldn't be here with all those people. But yeah, shout out to my mom.
Yeah, no musical background in my family. But yeah, my younger brother and I are the only musicians in the family, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
Yo, that's nuts. Like I didn't know any of that because like this dude is one of the most like naturally gifted musicians. He has this thing called perfect pitch. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but I got to drop that knowledge. Like that is a superpower, my friend.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like to have no one in his family, like just having any proficiency in music is nuts.
Appreciate you, dog.
My thing was only like similar to Jay, but my dad was like casual in music. He like played the guitar and he DJ'd as like a Filipino events DJ. Like if you know what I mean, like a debut / wedding DJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like just back in the day, back when I was in like high school, stuff like that.
Okay, that's facts, man. And you know, speaking of like DJing and producing, like, how'd you guys like get into that, and like what inspired you to start like Bitter and Broken, all that? You know.
Well, for me, when I started making beats, I started off on GarageBand, just on the phone, on the iPhone, on iPod, really. You know, just staying curious on how to make beats, you know, different genres of beats, stuff like that. And then only recently during the pandemic did I actually buy a laptop and just, you know, have Logic Pro X on it and really surgically just make beats and stuff. But yeah,
It's a long answer.
it's a loaded question.
And, to keep it kind of concise, Aaron and I met.
A little over 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while. Right when I started university, through his sister, actually. We, I don't know, we were hanging out before. You know, we were smoking weed on the balcony and like, you know, just chilling, not knowing that either of us can play music. And then one day, I think, right, your sister told you.
Yeah, and I didn't believe her.
Yeah, and then you know he was like, "Hey, you want to try?" I'm like, "Yeah." Did it, and then you know that kind of became the start of the relationship, and then it kind of sprouted into, you know, bringing on Maricel.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We were doing some corporate events, some weddings.
Who's a vocalist friend of ours.
Yeah,
She's a vocalist friend.
yeah. And then at one point, you know, her life started changing, so she had to step down. She was actually having a child at that time. Yeah. So it was just me and him, and we're like, okay, well, we got to do something, because we weren't called Bitter and Broke at that time.
Mm-mm.
We're called Philharmonic. And then, yeah, we're like, okay, well, we're gonna do something. Well, we did the DJing stuff.
Yeah, Yoshi just ended up convincing me, being like, yo, it's a good skill set to have in what we're trying to do. Because I think our POV was a little bit more, yo, we can do this like as a support system. We don't even have to like quit our job or anything. Let's just go like try to ghost produce or do more corporate stuff. Because that was really fun. Like we were doing a lot of weddings because our friend Maricel, like all of her friends were getting married. And it's like, you do well at one of them, you'll get all of them type stuff, right?
Okay.
And it was more of a, okay, skill set, just learn it because it's a good tool to have as like someone trying to get into production. But even for me in production, like I'm going to date myself a little bit, but yo, my first like taste of that was coming up like typing out like ringtones on a Nokia phone.
Damn.
Like if you guys even understand what that means, like
Yeah.
like coming up with actual ringtones and like selecting notes and shit and like, you know what I mean, putting it together there, and then it evolved into GarageBand, and then from GarageBand to like a bootleg of like Ableton, and then that's where things started happening from there.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was also producing at the time. Showed him how to DJ because I was a demon back in the day. I was going on a lot to these EDM festivals, having a lot of fun. So I kind of wanted to share that. And then, you took it your own way as well. And you kind of showed me in terms of how to mix, hip hop and R&B. So I think that was kind of like the beginning of Bitter and Broke officially. And then we're like, okay, well, let's put a new name on it. And yeah, that was actually one of the first ideas that came to mind when we were having the brainstorming session. We spent 2-3 weeks trying to come up with a different name. And then eventually we were like,
Like who are we
this is
kidding?
perfect. Yeah. It started off as a joke, but the name really stuck with us because I think the messaging, we feel that it resonates with everyone.
Yeah, but even going back to what Yoshi was saying about like the exposing of different genres, like I feel like that also in essence was a very Bitter and Broke thing, because if it's one thing that we do, which is taking from all these different multi-genres. So like it was sick to be like, yo, you've never heard of these guys? Like listen to this type of stuff. And then he would throw house music at me. So I'm like learning all this really, really dope ass like soulful house, like tech house and all that kind of stuff. And then he showed me the demon world. I brought him into like a little bit more of the urban side of music. So it was a cool little balance.
Urban and demon
Urban and demon side?
Oh yeah, you know exactly what I mean.
Yeah. And I guess you guys all came up in the church too, or just only Jay for a bit?
Yeah, I think it's just
No, I have a little experience in church. When I was just learning how to play sax, like in elementary school, I started playing in a church up until like mid high school. So like that was not as crazy because also different types of church. Mine was like super, super hardcore Roman Catholic. Like they like play organs all the time and stuff. They would get upset at me when I was playing sax and I was playing like
Jazz.
solo-y style, like playing above as opposed to just playing like the actual lyrics and stuff. So I was like, this isn't for me.
Okay. But I know, like with church too, like it brings out like a lot, like within music and all that. Like I think like some of the best artists like do come from like church and all that. Whether it's like Beyonce or whether it's like Luther Vandross or like Aretha Franklin too. Going to church can change like the aspects on how you can make good music, or like even being in the gospel and all that. So
Yeah.
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
In a weird way, like I'd say my singing journey started in Catholic school, even though I'm not religious.
okay,
But it was an international Catholic school in Tokyo. So I was coming from Vancouver, getting back to Japan, and then I kind of wanted to progress my English, so ended up there. But that's when I started to join the choir. So I guess in a weird way, God has started my career. You know what I'm saying? I'm still not religious, but
He's out
thank
there.
God. I guess.
Yo,
So
and
sorry.
As far as like influences like from the band and all that, who would you say would be like the influences that you guys are like influenced on?
A lot of the I guess recently, especially a lot of the Japanese bands, city pop bands, jazz bands, even some of the fusion stuff. But at the same time, I think we also look to some of the more local stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of Couch. Show these guys.
Mhm.
We're big fans of bands like Hiatus Coyote. Yeah, I could keep talking about the bands we like for 20 minutes, but
Yeah, like I don't know, like I look at other bands to compare like the Internet. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
those kind of guys. Who else? More in the neo soul space. So there could be like Moonchild. You know what I mean? Like those type of people. But then it's just like we pull from so many different things. And I
Metal?
feel like that. What?
we pull from metal sometimes.
Yeah, totally. Everything. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Super random.
there's a band out in the UK called Oma, and they're killing it right now, right? They're just like redoing, or what is it? They're just recreating hip hop classics.
Yeah, but like they do it even from like a texture standpoint, which is really cool
Yeah.
to like completely recreate something like from the studio recording to do that live is tough.
Sound
Yeah.
design.
Sound design
Crazy.
is pretty crazy,
Yeah,
and those guys
yeah.
kill that.
Yeah, and like I mean, like a lot of like artists are like even like recreating like that same like sound and format like with music. I mean, Elamine, he's like a very dope artist. I don't know if you know a guy named like Mark Rebellet who
Yeah,
does like
yeah.
DJing
That
and all
guy's
that
crazy.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
really really cool live looping videos.
And then Aaron Paris, like another like dope artist. He's actually from Toronto, by the way, too, who worked with like Lotto, 21 Savage, Russ, like a lot of people too. Like I think with the instrumentation and horns and everything else too, he does his thing too.
No, Paris is a killer, man.
he's
Luna
nuts.
Lee, like Luna Lee's pretty dope too. Like when it comes to like the instrumentation too, she used to do like a lot of like TikTok videos as well too. So yo, I definitely see like that influence like too for a bit, like in creativity, Zap, Roger Troutman too. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
and as far as like people who you want to like work with someday, like who are like some artists that you want to like work with that you haven't worked with before?
Oh, that list is so long. Like even just starting with like the guys who are inner city, like a Paris, like a Looney. You know what I mean? Like Savannah Ray would be super cool. Like a lot of these people in our city, like John Vinyl, he's incredible. You know what I mean? And then we talk about outside our city, like we talked about like
Jadakiss would be awesome.
Oh my god.
Jadakiss, if you're watching this, email my manager.
like Lucky Day would be dope. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. Like Mac Ayers. Who
Like Tom
else?
Misch.
Tom Misch. The list is
The list
forever.
goes on.
Snow Allegra would be
Oof.
incredible to work
Even
with.
working with like other DJs might be dope too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love to work with everyone. I think I really enjoy the opportunities we get to back certain artists, and some of the artists are in genres that we don't typically touch. For example, we played Afrofest last year or 2 years ago.
Last year.
Last year during the summertime with Tammy, and it's fantastic. We don't get to play those grooves usually, so it was a challenge, and at the same time, it kind of helped us to flex the creativity.
Mhm.
So yeah, man.
That's facts. And you guys are doing like a lot of like open jams and like performing at like many events. So how did that come about, along with like integrating like DJing with like the orchestration?
Yeah, I think a lot of the opportunities we were able to get responses back on cold just emails and cold calls. Networking is definitely huge as well. And then yeah, word of mouth. Someone will see us playing at Objects or playing at one of our shows. Then they'll come up to us, we'll say hi, we'll trade information. And then, a year later, they're like, hey, I'm getting married. Do you guys do weddings? I'm like, it's crazy, the connections that we're able to make. But
It also helps,
Yeah.
like just having a very consistent social strategy to kind of just being like, hey, everyone, we're alive, we're still active, doing things on the regular. So the more you kind of show that you're doing it, you attract more people that are just like, I trust that, as opposed to people who aren't posting about just being like, yo, we're putting in the daily grind. How do I trust that like it's going to be at the quality that I need it to be? Right.
Facts. And like every venue is like going to be like very different too, because like Afrofest too, because I know they'll have like venues like in History and like in other big venues too. You would go from like a small venue from like a bar cathedral to a sort of big venue like the Access Club or Phoenix and all that too. So it's like different experiences, different environments and all that,
learning experience each
Yeah.
time. Each time.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's a blessing, man, for sure.
Yeah, and even like performing in like other cities like Montreal and Ottawa and like London, how was that like progression like, even just performing all over,
Dude, it's dope. It's dope. We love going out and playing for audiences that we don't typically get to see in Toronto. I think making the impact is a huge thing for us in terms of through our music. So the fact that we can kind of physically be there and perform for people in a different city is nuts to me. Is nuts to me, and it's so awesome, man. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's pretty crazy the fact that, like, for example, we'll use like London as an example, being like we've been consistently playing London for maybe a year now, a year and a half. And now we're finding that the same people are coming out to the same shows, but it's just like that and more. And it's crazy to think that like we're not even from their city and they're just continuously following us. And anytime we show up, they're just there. Like,
Yeah.
it's very different from the Toronto market. I don't want to throw shade at Toronto market, but it's. I feel like they care a little bit more, or they appreciate it a little bit more, because I feel like us Torontonians, we're very spoiled because so many people are throwing programming on a daily basis, and it's just like there's so much competition. So, you know, sometimes you get those crowds where they're just like very wallflower. I'm gonna just post up. I'm not gonna try to give any energy. But you go into like a smaller town like London, and it's like everyone wants to talk to you and just hang and just being like, yo, they're so receptive and thankful that we're just there, that we're showing love by going out there, and we're just like, yo, we eat that up because we're people.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I love just getting into the crowd and all that kind of stuff.
And just like, you know, even like with touring as well too, because like you're gonna be like in a 4-door van or like a 5-door van with like a lot of people, and like, you know, you're just like seeing the road, like you're going to like different like pit stops, everything else too. So like, what are like the do's and don'ts of like touring, like in a sense?
Don't be a dick.
Yeah, be nice. Yeah.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Be friendly. Be cordial. Respectful. All that good stuff, you know?
You were so quiet for so long, and the first thing you say is, "Don't be a dick."
Just want to make my point clear.
Yeah. Of course. Gotta be respectful.
I feel like it's just all like, it's a lot of just common courtesy things.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think in the real world, it's just like, hey, if you just completely live by the golden rule, being like, yo, just treat everyone exactly how you want it to be treated. You know, like that's kind of like how we move everywhere, regardless of the situation.
Sure. And like, I know like a lot of people also say like other stuff too, like don't shit like on the bus and all that, or like eat healthy and all that too. So like, have you guys like taken that into like from like the past experiences too?
No.
Yeah.
We eat
out.
absolutely terribly.
Yeah.
We eat absolutely terribly.
We have Wendy's on the road. We have like Burger King. I think we
Yeah.
had Burger King twice one time.
Oh yeah.
On the way to London, in London. Oh no, on the way to Waterloo, in Waterloo.
Yeah.
But like, we're broke. Like, that's what it is sometimes.
We're on crunch time too, right? So we can't really dine in. It's just
Okay.
grab the food and go.
Okay.
But you know, like that's not to say that we're not actively just trying to do that. Not even like on tour or whatever. It's just like we're trying to do that actively in life. Like we see each other every day. So it's just like we understand that sustainability is key. So it's just like, let's try to be healthier. Let's try to smoke less. And
sometimes the grease, man, it gives you energy.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
On that Dave's double burger combo. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean, because like with the pit stops too, because like if you go to like certain pit stops, it's like what, like Popeyes, like Tim Hortons,
Yeah,
so it's,
A&W.
like, yeah. And I mean, as far as like the studio life is like, so what's that creative process like when making music, and that day in the studio life is like?
So our studio is at Aaron's crib. You know,
domicile.
kind of a, I guess, is makeshift the right word? I don't know if it's the right word, but anyways, like, you know, we have
makeshift. It's good.
It's a home
It's
studio.
decent.
Yeah,
It's a home
decent. There it
studio.
is. That's the word.
Makeshift.
But yeah, enough of me, please.
What? No, man. Aaron and I have been talking forever, man.
Yeah, yo, get in on
Go ahead.
this.
Tell us
Yeah,
about
yeah.
our makeshift studio.
Yeah, yo.
I don't know.
No, sorry.
Sorry, we always bully Jay
sorry,
just because he's the youngest.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like Aaron said, you know, we meet every day. Pretty cool setup. I mean, like cost friendly setup. Yeah, I don't know.
Do you have fun there?
I have a lot of fun. Man.
Dope. Me too.
How does a day look like?
Yeah.
When
What
we
does it
link?
look like?
Yeah, bro.
When we meet up, we set up. You know, if we have to rehearse, we rehearse. Oftentimes I don't know if I can disclose it, but we smoke before, you know, just to catch a vibe, and then off to the races,
Yeah.
you know?
Like, I mean, it's no surprise we smoke.
Yeah.
But you know, it's valuable the time that all three of us have. So, you know, whenever we're together, I think you know, the fact that we can create music, kind of share ideas, and then it slowly becomes this amalgamation of all our creative ideas. is really cool. Even if it's not just writing or making originals, whether it's practicing, whether it's making arrangements for some of the covers that we're doing, even if it's, kind of learning a musical technique or what is it called? Like a music theory sort of tidbit.
Okay.
And we'll jam out in jazz and kind of do crazy stuff. But yeah, there's goals that we need to get done, and we put our brains together and we get it done. I feel like,
Yeah.
To answer the actual question, like specifically,
Did I not
being
answer
like,
the question?
well, like
I
the
didn't.
actual process of like what happens when we link for the for creative process. It's like, okay, we'll smoke. Well, whatever we're watching is like kind of related to what we're doing. So if it's like, if we know that we're going to go into writing mode, we're going to try to find music that kind of inspires us to create that sound or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we'll come inside and it's kind of like a free for all. All of our instruments are just live. And then we kind of just start tinkering. One of us will have an idea and then we'll kind of build on that. And then we'll kind of record like a 16 that encompasses, the biggest moment of whatever song or whatever. And then we'll kind of sit with it. We'll shelve it for a little bit. So, we're not just immediately trying to go all the way into creating it, because you need to kind of live with it first, to kind of understand where you want to take it. And that is, in a nutshell, kind of like how we get into creating stuff.
Okay.
Or it would be like, alternately, it would be the guys bringing like an idea or something that they already have fleshed out through studio. Like both the guys, they do, I want to say, like all of our production in-house. And it starts with one of their ideas, and then they'll take it to the room, and then we kind of add to it or make any adjustments, and then we kind of go from there.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're changing that as well. With the newer songs that are coming out, with Float, which is our most recent release that's actually coming out tomorrow. It was still a production that I brought, and the last two are split between Jay and I, but these future releases are all like the three of us starting from scratch together.
Okay.
So it's a different process, and it's super exciting, and it's been really fun. It's been so much fun
And
at our
I've seen,
makeshift
like,
studio.
And I've seen like the IG reels where you guys had like different artists that come in like with Half and Half, with Big Juice, with I think Dexray was also in there too, and then I think recently you had like a hip hop producer as well too. So how's like like even integrating like those artists to be in that space to like jam and all that?
Oh, it's sick. It's sick. I
It's a luxury.
Yeah,
We're very
yeah,
lucky
it's
to be able to
amazing,
do
yeah.
something like
it's a
that.
blessing, man.
Yeah, because ultimately, like, we selfishly do it to be like, this is our outreach, being like, yo, we're a fan of you, we like your music. Come over on like a free dime. We'll take any other original music. We'll flip it live. Maybe we'll flip the feel, all that kind of stuff. In the hopes to just kind of like have a little bit of soft influence with a lot of the artists in the city. Like, obviously, we would the hope is that we'd be able to officially produce for said artist that pulls up to the crib. But if it doesn't go that way, it's cool. We're still homies. We still talk and we still politic with everyone that pulls up. And it's like just having, this is like more old school of being like, yo, let's just hang out and get to know each other with music.
Okay.
Yeah.
Share knowledge,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Best practices.
share tricks. Yeah. Because even musically, right? Different instrumentalists will come through.
Mhm.
Even someone that's not directly raised in music, like dancers, have come through a couple of times as well. And kind of being able to spend the time getting to know them and learning their perspective on certain things in the business of being a creative, I think is it's such a luxury.
Mhm.
It's been really, really helpful for us, and I hope that some of the things that we get to talk to them about and they ask for advice on, we're having the same effect on them.
That's fast.
Yeah.
Man.
And I'm super obsessed with like systems and processes, like with how like people run their business, like people who are doing it at the level that we want to, and be like, yo, what is your, like, how do you, X? I like picking brains all the time because I'm always of the thought that like everyone you speak with, you can learn something from, whatever it is. So it's just like, we're always going to be that product of like just knowledge base is so wide from just like talking to everyone, and it's like talking to people in the music industry from different fields, right? Like having the best understanding as a whole.
Yeah, like knowledge is power, like either way too. And like whenever you get that knowledge from someone who has that experience too, like it helps like a lot too. And like understanding like the landscape of like the music industry too. Like I've had like people like I think Andre Caden Black too, and then Bavaro Beats who've worked with like well-known artists too, like spit game on like how like the industry should be and like how you should like format like music in that sense too. So I definitely like take those in too. So yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
100%.
And like even with the whole like weed and like liquor situation too, do you feel like using weed or liquor helps with the creative process more effectively, or do you feel like it kind of just slows it down for a bit?
It's a balance.
It's the purpose, I think. Recently, I've been thinking about this. I don't know why I'm presenting it like it's a conspiracy theory. But I feel like a lot of it is just like if you set your mind to it, if you have the right purpose, you can use weed or liquor or whatever it is. I think our preference is definitely weed. You can get it to the right energy and you can get the things that you want to get done and help really use it to, whether it's to help with creativity, which is, I think, is a big thing for us.
Mhm.
It's even, interesting as when we're having these artists, kind of having it as a very, social kind of, I don't know, even like a
Camaraderie
ceremonial
smoke,
thing. We
yeah.
treat it like a
Yeah.
ceremonial thing with other artists, which is nuts.
It's
And
like,
I'm so
pull
sorry,
up,
but-
smoke our bong now.
Yeah. And then we go, yeah.
And like figure out
Welcome.
like the indica, the sativa, figure out the munchies and all that too. So
Oh, hell yeah.
Of course.
But
Yeah.
but with that all being said, we are still human and
Yeah.
we still succumb to all the negative aspects when it
Yeah.
comes to, vice usage and all that kind of stuff. Like it's a conversation that we have ongoing where it's like, okay, well, let's make sure that we don't just pull up and smoke for the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Get just mangled and then try to like half-ass some work.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like we've had to grow from that and then being like, okay, well, on certain days we can kind of be a little bit more loose, but when it's grind time, it's grind time. We'll just hit a couple bowls and then let's get to it.
I don't know if you guys seen like this episode on not Breaking Bad, the Boondocks, where Granddad smokes like weed for the very first time too, and like there's like this part where he was like I think jamming with the bongos and all that too, but like
Yo, he was like naked and shit.
Yeah.
like he's like in his underwear or some shit.
yeah. And then I think that what Tom and like Jasmine like walked in and like they were like freaked out by it too, and like you don't want to go like all Granddad like on that like unless like it's like necessary, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Like, I mean, yeah, like the drug can do that.
So, but as far as like with the other stuff too, because you have like the beaties where you've had like people like Casino Costa, Disco Dash, like Big Juice, Ray Mind. So like, what was that process like when like for that like beat tape in that sense?
Yeah, so I made all of those beats in my underwear in my living room. Fun facts. It was kind of a beat tape that we wanted to put out, just to be like, hey, we built a community to a certain degree. We've met so many of our friends, different artists, and we kind of wanted to put something together to really solidify that, even kind of almost use it as a marker of, what Bitter and Broke started off as. So we invited 6 different local artists that we were already working with, had them come into the studio, different beats. And then we put it out. We were very happy with it. We had different cover art done by different artists for each song as well. So it was kind of like a visual arts music collaboration mashup kind of thing. That's very Toronto,
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And it was a reflection of the time too. Like this was
We didn't have
a
originals yet.
COVID project
Yeah.
too. Like this was even before Jay got into the mix. Like
Mhm.
I want to say like a full year before Jay got into the mix. So it's really interesting that I'm very happy that we were able to put something out as like a before Jay, after Jay type of stuff, because it's like it's part of the path.
Okay. No, that's facts, man. And even with like other singles too, because you have like OK and like Sasagare, like what were those like creative processes like for that?
Well, for OK, that was like one of the very first few beats I made on Logic Pro. And then I met the guys. We were just hanging out at Yoshi's old apartment or old condo downtown, presented it to them, and that's how that happened. And then for Tasogare, what did we do?
Yeah, I brought it. It was another one of those projects I made in my underwear at home. And yeah, I brought it to Jay. We worked on it for a little bit, and then we had the chance to work with a producer by the name of Turbo BCR. He came through with some of the analog synths in the song, and that was awesome to be able to see all that gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like old school guy and just like synth head.
Yeah, and as our second song, like the first song was with our he kind of does everything: mixing engineer, producer, mastering. His name is Colin, Prod Colin. We that was our first time working with him on OK. After we worked with Beaties, so that was kind of the first time we three came together. And then the second song, we worked with Turbo VCR. We got to see, the different ways producers work, and of course the different instruments and the gear. So it was definitely a good time for me. Just as a nerd.
In terms of the lyrics, for OK, we had initially worked with a local artist in Toronto named The Honest Guy.
Okay.
And he actually came up with like a very, very rough draft of the first iteration of what the lyrics were of OK. And then through rewrites, we ended up just changing the perspective a little slightly. And then in Tasogare, it was exclusively Jay, Yoshi, and our manager, Addy, who came up with the lyrics for the song.
Okay. And because I think it's like Japanese or Korean, correct? Like for the language?
Japanese. Yeah.
So I guess it like kind of means like some sort of like food or something like that, or like because I think the cover art it had like you guys like at a restaurant or something like that too. So
shout out to the perfect Chinese restaurants.
So Tasogare in Japanese, it's kind of means twilight.
Okay.
It's most used also as kind of like the end of something, the end career of something. So the whole messaging, the meaning behind the song is, the uncertainty of as you're getting older, as you're getting, a little bit weaker, are you still able to in this case, loving a partner, someone else, in the same way as you can right now. But we also see it as applying to kind of, pursuing our passions. Are we still able to use the same amount of energy to put out the same amount of quality and love that we have for certain things? So just trying to kind of capture that.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No.
Yeah,
Man.
Yes. Some of these very stone thoughts, on the balconies, like when we're hanging out, I think it becomes songs.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
we try to write happier things, but I mean, like, I feel like it's easier to just write just a lot of the just natural anxieties and things that like people are just kind of going through, and us included. We're human as shit.
Yeah, no, that's facts, man. And one of your like biggest like link ups was with Big Juice and all that too. And you guys were also primarily responsible for his project. I think Shadows, too, right? So like, how did that like link up come about, and what were like some things that you guys like both like learn from to become successful like in the industry and all that?
How long ago did we meet him?
We met Big Juice, I want to say in like 2019, 2018. Back when there was a venue called the B-Side Lounge in front of the Mod Club, which is now Axis. And I remember walking into the venue, looking to the right, and like Big Juice was just shirtless, just like bone crusher energy. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, who is this guy? Like, and his energy was just so crazy. He was great with people. Didn't get a chance to talk to him, but ended up like seeing him at another show after that, because we were doing something called Raw Artists at the time, and casually like just hung out with him through events and exchanged information through like socials and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like it was COVID that kind of like solidified everything with Juice, where we got into Object Studio, and it wasn't really being used at the time because of COVID. So we had access to the space, and me, Juice, the guys, Addy, Ray Hammond as well. We had a photographer named Ash. We were just using it to shoot a whole bunch of stuff. You know what I mean? And like after that, we just loved Juice, and we just wanted to always like work with him because his hustle is nuts, bro. Like nuts.
Yeah. And like I've like had him like on the platform too for like the interview, and like his energy was like very unique and interesting too, and like just
Mhm.
like even with the music too, because he had like the Freebeats project, he had Shadows, he had like a lot of like singles as well too, and like those sounds like were like very like mainstream, like in a sense too. It kind of had like the unique like mainstream sound that kind of is like similar to like Isaiah Rashad too, and like other artists too, like Mick Jenkins and like Vic Mensa too, like that whole like dark black sound and all that. And like I definitely see him like more on like a mainstream light too. Like I think just with his creativity and his openness to like production and to sounds, like it goes like a long way too. So
Yeah, man. Like imagine if Juice keeps going down this route and he does shit like Schoolboy Q or like the Freddies and stuff like that, like the Griseldas and like yo, he would smoke that. But yo, you have to wait. He's sitting on some heat right now. Like
true. I think Shadows was like probably like one of the best projects I've heard. Like I think in 2022 so far, and like
Jeez.
I think like he had this song like sipping off this, like drinking off this, like it was like probably something like I was like really like tapped in with, so like that was like kind of like one of my favorite songs from that time. So
hell yeah.
yeah,
And it's fun when we link up with him. So he's the one artist that we consistently do live shows with, because we actually have a group together with Big Juice called the Bitter Juice Collective. And we actually have 2 songs that are recorded and mastered that are ready to go. So hopefully that comes out sooner than later. But it's a lot of fun.
yeah,
A
exactly.
lot of fun.
Exactly. And friendships, it's like very like important like within the music industry too, and like connectivity and like knowing like an artist too, it's like great to know. So how do you guys value like the importance of like friendships like in the industry? Do you feel like it's important to establish that and maintain it, or just like strictly business?
All friendly.
Yeah, friendships are
Definitely.
important, man. Friendships are important, but also the
Definitely.
business piece is important. Like I think the initial intention is always just to become friends, and then as we get to know one another, we talk about ways we can collaborate and support one another. But once we get to those conversations, I think the business piece is really important, and I feel like it's easier to actually talk about the business pieces when you've kind of already established a friendship there.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to say that not having a friendship isn't important in business, especially in a little bit more of a creative setting.
Mhm.
I hate people. No, I'm playing. Like, yeah, 100% the same thing. Like, I think, in the past, the people that we've worked with that we didn't initially start off as like homies, there was definitely like a period where it's like, okay, well, this is a little awkward first, and it's just easier to kind of to get over that once you're kind of like homies, and that's why we always usually have like a first session where we just kick it. And it's like, okay, come through, come smoke, come talk. We'll talk expectations. We'll just catch a vibe. We'll share music, that kind of stuff. And that's super important because, again, like, I think, like, your chemistry is so, it dictates everything. It'll dictate how good the song is ultimately.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
And just
saying?
like knowing like the right moments too, because sometimes there's friends and there's like opportunities sometimes too. So it's like kind of weeding out. All right, who's gonna be there for like the long run? Who's gonna be there for the bad versus who's only gonna be here for kind of come up with like when the check hits and like it kind of like correlates to that. So yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect the friendship, right? Like I think it's really tough to find some people that are you're good friends with, but also at the same time they're good people to be doing business with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, and luckily, Jay and Aaron have been those people where it's like, hey, like we're brothers, but at the same time, we know we can also get the business done. So we're blessed in that sense. But it's sometimes doesn't work out, but it's I think prioritizing that friendship is
Exactly.
yeah.
That's
At least for
facts,
me, it's always fun to have.
Yeah, that's facts, man. I definitely agree too. And you guys primarily use like TikTok and IG to promote your music, to promote the sessions too. So do you feel like finding a way to make your music go viral on TikTok is a fair, creative, effective like strategy proposal for artists, or does it diminish the artistry like in a sense?
We were actually talking about this earlier today, and I think that us as artists shouldn't be shy around technology. I think it's just how you utilize the tool. You can completely use it wrong and portray yourself in a way that doesn't actually reflect you as a person, as a brand, as an artist. And there's ways to accurately do that and actually just do it the right way. You know what I mean? So we try to get rid of all the noise from on TikTok, especially being like, we only follow people that we enjoy their content. And it's like, they're a good balance of, we're going to do the trendy thing, but we're also going to do our own quote unquote evergreen content to actually like, this is what we do.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you should be able to like just leverage newer tools like that. That's how this whole thing continues to just stay alive. Like, this is the reason why people like evolve music and jazz specifically. You know what I mean? Like, that kind of stuff. It's just, you can't keep doing the same stuff.
When we were talking about the GOAT, I don't think like we were talking about Muhammad Ali.
Yes.
Considered like one of the GOATs, if not the GOAT. But, you know, when you're thinking about someone from that time, fighting someone from nowadays, like it's a different sport. And being able to kind of evolve and staying as a GOAT, like some players have in different sports, I think it applies to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I keep changing.
Yeah. And I mean, like, even with Talk too, because like it always like changes like over time too, depending on situations too, with America's situation on banning TikTok because of social messages and all that too, to like labels like taking like music away like on TikTok too for artists like compensation too. So there are like a lot of like factors too, but like in that sense it does help like independent artists too, like even within those situations, because it showcases them like in a better light too. You know, maybe don't like use that sound from like Taylor Swift or Drake or Post Malone. You could use someone like Big Juice or someone like Bitter and Broke too to kind of understand, and then you get to tap in with their content more, like understand it, and you know, goes on from there. That's why like a lot of other people like Marco Rebellet and like, I mean, even with who's this guy named, like, not Incited, but friggin' that Mexican OT and like all those other people kind of go viral from there, you know. So yeah, you know.
Yeah. Like I enjoy Lil Russell's everything online. Like, this guy just locked in. His content is so cool because his content is literally, yo, fam, this is what I do. If you guys don't do this type of stuff, you're just sleeping on like lost opportunities.
Yeah.
Because like, I think too many people try to contentify their art as opposed to just display their art as content. Like, because they're two different things, right? Like, one is like very manufactured, artificial, but one is very just genuine to the actual process. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, Coda the Friend did that too with his like visualizers for music videos. So he would sit like in a specific location and like it would just be like subtitles on one point and him like on a boat, or him like just like in the forest, like just like catching something. Like, that was like pretty interesting too. Elamine too, and like, I mean, the From the Block performances too. Like, it is like amazing to see like how content can be curated and how we could like see like certain content in different lights where it showcases like new music, new artists too. Like, that's why a lot of artists like blew up from those platforms, like On the Radar and like From the Block and all, you know.
For sure. Yeah. On the Radar is hard, yo. Their freestyles are crazy.
Yeah, not exactly. I think they've had like some good freestyles. I mean, Elamine did his thing, Mark Rebelli did his thing, like the Dro rappers did their thing, Drake and Central C. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Classic.
So as well too, do you guys feel you've grown as artists from the start until now, or do you feel like there's like more that needs to be done?
I think there's always more that needs to be done. I think we never stop growing, right?
I'd like to say that it's like night and day in comparing, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like the growth has been like crazy because we weren't writing, like we weren't writing, like, and now this feels a lot more comfortable doing it, and even in the capacity of being like performers or even just musicians, like there's so many different fields that we've improved just because, again, I'm always gonna preach, yo, we're just putting in the time. Yeah. We're showing up every day and we're putting in the hours, being like, let's just develop all these different things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. But that never stops the learning. I think we talked about learning a lot today.
Yeah. Big nerds.
Yeah. Yeah, just keeners. Yeah. It's so important, man. And it kind of always pushes us to keep on growing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's facts.
Until we die.
Like, knowing that this is like a Toronto-based like podcast, and like knowing this, we're all from Toronto, like in some ways too, with Scarborough, Markham, Vancouver, like Canada, like in a sense. How do you guys feel about the scene like over here at the moment? Do you feel like there should be some changes on the direction of where the scene should go to, or do you feel like it's fine the way it is?
I think it's getting there. I think a lot of the less conventional sounds, maybe like, I don't know, 5-7 years ago, exist now. Things like garage, jungle's making a big comeback. Um, there's a lot more reggaeton as well. I think that's in popular music, which is kind of cool. And then, I think the best thing is the sharing of different pieces from each genre, kind of mingling in certain songs, which is awesome too. But we're slowly getting there, but I don't think we're there yet.
I think there's a lot of what's the word? Like a lot of people are doing a lot of the same stuff. I think that at one point it was about not biting per se, but in Toronto it was very example Karuza. They started the entire Amapiano movement in Toronto. You know what I mean? Because I feel like they shifted from a strictly like Afro, like purely Afro, and now the majority of people are shifting to Ama. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like, why? Like we can show each other different things, and it's just like their success doesn't mean I'm just gonna bite that. Like just try to find what your version of that is.
Yeah.
I think there could be a little bit more originality, just because a lot of Torontonians like live by the crabs in the bucket mentality. We're very easy to be like compare, as opposed to no, we're all doing the same thing. Like there's a world where all of us can eat, like living from the perspective of abundance as opposed to just being like finite and stuff.
Yeah, there's enough space for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. We can all eat, man.
And gatekeeping, I think gatekeeping sucks, and that's a big issue. But I think from the start, because we've gone through that experience of being gate kept, that's the word. But now, we make sure that the gates are open whenever we can.
And it's like changing the approach too. You know what I mean? Like I think we're very, back in the day, it's like, oh, like you just think the quality of the music is good, you'll get the gigs. But it's like, no, that's not true at all. Like you have to build these relationships with everyone from venue owners to programmers to sound techs to promoters and all that kind of stuff. Like the game is very different, very, very different.
I mean, there is like a lot of like integration, as you said too, with like different artists like tapping into different scenes too. I mean, AR Paisley is like tapping into like the whole like Bollywood like Indian scene and all that too. I mean, I think Sad Boy's like doing the whole like garage like Brazilio like Afro Brazilian like sound and all that too with her stuff with like Smiley and all that. Well, yeah, Sad Boy, yeah. And then like I think a lot of artists are like tapping into different sounds too, like with reggaeton, as you said, and like even R&B and like all these like other factors too, like pop, rock, and just, yeah,
man.
And we need the fringes out. We need like just like the most fringe ass music to just start making like mini scenes. We need that again.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. And have you guys ever noticed like the crap in the bucket like mentality in Toronto, like when it came to like shows and like other situations as well too?
I want to say like we've avoided a lot of these situations to put us like to be able to be like, okay, well, we see tendencies. Like we do a pretty good job of vetting all of our gigs now, being like, let's make sure that everyone that we're working with like aligns with us brand wise, all of our different things that the things that make us. In the past, definitely, like we've definitely seen people who are very, even like playing the same show, being like looking at us as competition. And it's just like, well, why? We're here in this together to make sure that everyone in that crowd is having the best experience. You know what I mean?
But I think those experiences are a lot less. They occur a lot less.
Yes.
Yeah. They don't occur often. Because I feel like as a musician or as any creative, I feel like everyone's pretty chill most of the time, But yeah, definitely a little sad when that kind of happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
It gets really competitive, like especially like in the musician space of like we do the backing band thing where we like just take an artist and then if they need a band in like 2 weeks, they have a group that's ready to go. They have built-in chemistry and we'll learn their music in a session and we go from there type stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's very different.
Yeah, that's facts, man. And we just have like these like few questions like left for a bit too. So like usually like people like when they want to like tap in with like new artists too, like usually they'll have like a playlist or like other benefactors too, like finding something from YouTube or finding something from a different source too. So like I have a playlist called like TLY's like Rising Acts where we showcase like music artists from like different like parts of the world and like even like with Toronto too, primarily within Toronto too. So for people that want to know more about like Bitter and Broken and all that, to find out more about the music, to like tap in with that sound too, like what would be like free songs you'd like to recommend for people to check out and to add on to the playlist?
Well, our own music?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just putting out our third single, which is coming out tomorrow. So I guess those 3 singles, I think, really represent us in our current state and kind of show the journey that we've done maybe over the 2 years. So yeah, okay, Tasogare and Float's gonna be out tomorrow. So float your ears
September
onto.
13th.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry.
Float your way into our Instagram.
I tried.
Apologize.
Yeah. Instagram.
No, well, in terms of the 3 songs,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
the
yeah,
3
yeah.
singles. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Agreed.
nothing from the BDs and all that, or like
You could take a listen. They're awesome too. But I think, that represents us at a certain time, and then I think these 3 songs really represent us in this different time,
Okay.
like in our current state. So you can kind of see both sides of Bitter and Broke. So that's actually interesting. So you know what? If you got the time, just listen to everything, man. Please.
Okay. And, like as far as like everything else too, like aside from like the upcoming single and like everything else too, like what do you guys have going on for like the rest of the year too? And like, do you have any like closing remarks you'd like to say?
Well, we're going to be playing a couple more big shows.
Yeah.
Next Friday, actually, we're going to be playing the Horseshoe Tavern.
Okay.
So we're going to be playing with a band called Ravine. They're going to be dropping their EP. And I believe it's their sophomore EP. So it's going to be a really, really big show. Like we like doing these like historic Toronto venue thing, like El Macombo,
Okay.
like these type of spaces. And for the rest of the year, we kind of want to be very selective on like the shows. Like we do a lot of, I want to say more corporate things. Like, for example, we just picked up a residency at Mrs. Robinson. So we're going to be there every Wednesday for the next foreseeable future. We share that with DJ Ritz. Super, super cool, super amazing DJ. We also do a residency at Christina's on the Danforth. That's a Greek restaurant. So we're there on Sundays, the 2nd to 4th, because the first Sunday of every month we're at Object Studio running our open mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you took anything away from that, come out to a Horseshoe show.
Yeah.
It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be
Yeah.
sick.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got a couple of releases coming out for the rest of the year as well. We're aiming for our EP for next year too. So kind of balancing the shows and the writing piece of it. I think that's what we're going to be doing for the next little bit.
Oh, also super random, but we have a monthly residency at Roller Pony now.
Oh yeah.
So you into skating and listening to cool music and doing both, and come out. It's so much fun. I feel like that place is one of the best kept secrets. Like it's a crazy vibe.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Roller Pony, that's like somewhere like downtown or in the West End.
Etobicoke area?
Tobico? Yeah.
Okay.
Tobico, West End.
Okay.
So it's a big warehouse. It is what did he say? The second biggest property in like Toronto or something like that? Like
top 5, top 10.
like crazy
Yeah.
space. Massive.
Okay. That's what's up, and like we'll definitely like tap in with those. We'll definitely like plug those in, and Bitter and Broke, Yoshi, Jay, Aaron, it was like dope having you guys on, and
Appreciate you. man.
definitely like have you back on. Like maybe speak more on music, the current landscape of music and all that, and yeah,
Dude,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you so much for having us, man.
Appreciate you.
This is awesome.
Likewise,
This is awesome.
man. Likewise, man. And this is Josh, also known as Yashu, with Aaron, Jay, and Yoshi of Bitter and Broke too. You can get this like on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more, on Patreon, on all other platforms. Like when it's released too, tap in with their singles coming up too, with like Float on, right? So that's
Float is coming out tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
So like
September
definitely tap
13th.
that in, like once it's like released and all that, and yeah, with OK, Tasugare, and yeah, much more. Definitely check out the work. Definitely show out to their events too. Like it'll be pretty like lit and all that. I've seen them like 3 times already too, and like they always like have the crowd going too. So yeah,
Appreciate
definitely
you.
tap those in. And it's Josh, also known as Yashu, with Bitter and Broke, episode 104. I know 103 is gonna be released soon, but yeah, 104, like
That's
signing off.
Hell yeah.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Dude, boom.
Wow.
That was so much
That was
fun,
awesome, man.
Yeah, man. That was like dope ass like conversation.